He calls himself a democratic socialist. He's not. He's a socialist. He's closer to a communist. He said it. He's on the record saying he wants to put as many socialists in power so he can seize the means of production. This guy, to me, hates the American dream. He hates what made this country great. He hates capitalism. He wants a fundamental shift in what has built this company, and he doesn't really particularly hide it. No problem with, like, I want affordable housing, affordable health care, affordable groceries, but you want to tax billionaires and rich people, and then you basically in the same breath will say, we don't like you. Yeah. We want you gone. Yeah. We don't think you're the right people. Well, why would you want to give this money to him to run? He's openly saying he hates America in the capitalist way and wants to change the whole thing.
I've said throughout the entirety of this campaign that this is a campaign to bring the struggles of working New Yorkers back to the focus of our politics and to ensure that City Hall is seen as a place that not only recognizes those struggles, but actually delivers on the material needs of those working people.
Now, let's talk a little bit about the mayor of New York, who was elected earlier in the week, Zohran Mamdani. Rita, your thoughts?
I'm delighted. This is going to provide me with so much content. And it couldn't happen to better people. New Yorkers, they're going to, they effed around and they're going to find out. You know, the whole FAFO equation, they're going to be in the FO portion in the coming years. But really, what happened in New York City, and also we had governor races we had a number of races in Virginia and New Jersey. Democrats did well in all of them. It was a clean sweep. They are all areas where Kamala Harris won. So it's not exactly a huge shock that the Democrats have done well there. But the women determine these elections. The percentage of women, particularly young women, backing these leftists, including Mamdani, is quite remarkable. So this is going to be very interesting to see if it's a trend that the Republicans are going to tackle the way they tackle the young vote, the way they're tackling the Latino and black vote by fracturing that support for the Democrats. Young women are proving to be a problem for Republicans, and the percentages are just wild when you look at the numbers supporting someone like Mamdani.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I think we have to separate with this one here. We have to separate the race in New York City from the other races. You know, New Jersey was always going to be Democrat. Let's be honest about that.
And
Virginia, I mean, Northern Virginia, which is basically a big suburb of Washington, D.C., that's always going to be Democratic, particularly, you know, during a government shutdown when everybody's cross about their pay. The Mamdani situation, though, is really interesting because he did well across the board with Gen Z. So normally we've seen these sort of gender divides here, but the exit polls suggest that young women, that's the 18 to 29 Zoomers, Gen Zs, they went 80%.
Yes.
80%
Huge.
For Mamdani. But that same exit poll had it at 68%. 68% of young men, or identifying as men because it's New York in 2025. But the thing is that there's something else that's happening there with that group of people, because in New York, you've got the children of the elite who have come from around the country to try and make it. Now, there's a big complicated theory about this, but basically it's that, you know, there's not the jobs and the prestige jobs that they thought were going to be available for them in this very expensive city. Somebody comes in preaching revolution after they've been doing 2 years of Palestinian cosplay. he's going to do very, very well here. But the question now is, where do the Democrats decide to go? Do they try, because that stuff doesn't play out in the rest of the country. So do they think, oh, Mamdani, AOC, all of that, that's the way of the future? Or do they try and do what they should do, which is not what the liberals should do, but actually try and move back from their crazy extreme to the center?
Well, the radical left of the Democrats is leading the party right now. I mean, there's no doubt that's the natural leadership at the moment in that vacuum. It is going to be fascinating to see what happens, but it's also interesting to look at the demographics of native-born New Yorkers compared to those who have come from all parts of the world. Again, that is something else that the Republicans have been speaking openly about, something we're not allowed to do in this country apparently, but where the Democrats have tried for a long time to import voters, to just let go of any sort of border control, as we saw under the Biden administration. So that I think that is going to be, again, a focus for the Republicans coming into the midterms.
This was another really interesting thing that came out of it. The people who voted most for Andrew Cuomo, who was the only other real candidate that was, active there, Andrew Cuomo, he was the former New York governor, Democrat turned independent. The people at the bottom end and at the very top end of the economic spectrum, that was one determinant. The other determinant, how long you have lived in New York City.
Yep.
So the longer you've lived in New York City, the less likely you're going to vote for Mamdani. That is so true, because you look at in the teens, the last decade, you had Bill de Blasio, another hard left progressive mayor. The city was a disaster. If you lived there when I did in the 90s, and you had David Dinkins, another progressive hard left mayor, crime was out of control. There were actual pogroms against Jews in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, under his watch. Rudy Giuliani came in and cleaned all that up. This is the thing. The more time you spend there, the more you get that New York BS detector, and you know what's going to work and what's not. Unfortunately, because so many people come from around the country and around the world, they don't have that institutional memory. And that's why every 20 years or so, New York has to go through this period of reaping after sowing, or FOing after FAing.
Well, I just hope the New Yorkers, the Mamdani refugees who are going to be flooding the red states, Texas, Florida, Tennessee, elsewhere, that they do not bring their voting patterns with them, because that is what the red states are worried about. Because, the real estate agents in places like Florida are absolutely celebrating.
Yeah, they're having a great time.
They're going to be very rich. But what we don't want is them going into those sorts of places and turning it into Austin, basically destroying a beautiful city with their Californian, New Yorker voting patterns.
Yeah, well, the bottom line is very simple, that Mamdani is the personification of the absolute schizophrenia in the modern left. He's a hardcore Muslim on the one hand, and he's selling the whole progressive, transgender, LGBTQ on the other. These two worlds are incompatible with each other. He is a walking contradiction. He's the schizophrenic mayor, and that will implode. One of those two sides will have to dominate the other, and I reckon I can guess which one it'll be.